Have you ever picked up something on the ground, thinking it was worthless, only to realize it could change your entire life? That is exactly what happened to a poor boy named Daniel. One ordinary afternoon, one forgotten wallet, and one secret that nobody had touched for years. And what Daniel discovered inside that wallet would completely rewrite his future. But here's the strange part. The wallet didn't just contain money. It contained a secret someone had hidden for decades. And when Daniel finally followed the clue inside, everything changed. But before we get into this unbelievable story, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our untold life stories. Now listen carefully, because this story proves that sometimes the smallest discoveries can lead to the biggest surprises. Daniel was only 15 years old, but life had already been very hard on him. He lived with his mother in a tiny rented room at the edge of a crowded neighborhood. The roof leaked whenever it rained, the electricity came and went, and most days they struggled just to have enough food. His mother worked long hours washing clothes for people in the neighborhood. Every morning she would leave early with a tired smile. "Daniel," she would say gently, tying her scarf, "be careful outside today." "I will, Mama," Daniel always replied. Daniel wanted to help her as much as he could. So after school he would walk around the busy streets collecting empty bottles, scrap metal, or anything he could sell for a few coins. Some days he earned enough to buy bread. Other days, nothing at all. But Daniel never complained. One afternoon, after a long hot day, Daniel was walking through an old marketplace on his way home. The market used to be lively years ago, but after a big fire destroyed many shops, most of the place had been abandoned. Broken wooden stalls stood quietly under the dusty sun, and the wind carried scraps of paper across the empty ground. Daniel had passed through this place many times before. But that day, something unusual caught his eye. Near an old wooden bench, something dark was lying on the ground. Daniel slowed down. "What's that?" he murmured to himself. He stepped closer. It was a wallet. Not a new wallet. Not even close. The leather was cracked, dusty, and faded like it had been sitting there for years. Daniel looked around carefully. No one was nearby. The empty market was completely silent. He picked it up slowly. The wallet felt surprisingly heavy. "Ha!" Daniel said quietly. He sat down on the broken bench and opened it. Inside were a few things. First he saw some old photographs. The photos were faded but still clear enough to see. One showed a smiling man standing in front of a beautiful house. Another photo showed the same man holding the hand of a little girl, both of them laughing. Daniel frowned. Who are these people? He flipped through the wallet again. There was an old bank card that looked nothing like the ones people use today. Then Daniel noticed something else. A folded piece of paper hidden deep inside one of the wallet's inner pockets. It looked fragile, like it had been folded and unfolded many times. Daniel hesitated. His heart suddenly began beating faster. For some reason, he felt like this paper was important. Very important. He carefully unfolded it. Inside was a handwritten message. But the writing looked rushed, almost desperate. Daniel read the first line slowly. "If you are reading this, it means the truth has finally found you." Daniel blinked. "What?" He leaned closer and kept reading. The note mentioned a name. Arthur Whitmore. It also mentioned something hidden. Something that had been left behind years ago. And then came the strangest part. At the bottom of the note were directions. Actual directions. Location. An address written in shaky handwriting. Daniel stared at the paper in disbelief. What kind of wallet is this? The note explained that something valuable had been hidden before Arthur Whitmore disappeared many years ago. And the directions led to a place Daniel had actually heard of before. An old storage building near the edge of town. Daniel felt chills run down his spine. Was this some kind of joke? Or was it real? He quickly looked around the empty marketplace again. Still no one. Only the wind moving quietly between the broken stalls. Daniel spoke softly to himself. Maybe someone dropped it recently. But something didn't feel right. The wallet didn't look recently lost. It looked old. Very old. Daniel carefully folded the paper again and placed it back inside the wallet. Then he stood up slowly. His mind was racing. What if the note was telling the truth? What if there really was something hidden at that location? But another thought quickly followed. What if this is dangerous? Daniel imagined someone searching for the wallet. Or someone coming back for it. He tightened his grip on the worn leather. His heart was pounding now. One part of him wanted to forget the whole thing and go home. But another part of him, the curious part, kept thinking about the directions written on that paper. Finally Daniel whispered to himself, maybe I should just check the place. He looked at the fading sunlight above the abandoned market. The address wasn't too far from where he was standing, maybe just a 20-minute walk. Daniel slipped the wallet into his pocket. His hands were trembling slightly. All right, he said quietly. Let's see what this is all about. And that decision, that single moment of curiosity, would lead Daniel into a mystery that had been waiting to be discovered for more than 20 years. But what Daniel didn't know yet was that the secret hidden inside that wallet was far bigger than he ever imagined. Daniel walked slowly out of the abandoned marketplace, the old wallet pressed tightly inside his pocket. His heart was beating faster than usual. He could still feel the rough leather against his fingers, and every step he took made the mystery feel more real. Am I really doing this? He whispered to himself. The sky was beginning to turn orange as the sun started sinking behind the buildings. The streets were quieter now, and most people were heading home for dinner. But Daniel wasn't thinking about food or rest. His mind kept replaying the message from the note. If you are reading this, it means the truth has finally found you. What truth? Daniel murmured. He kept walking. The address on the paper pointed to an old storage building near the edge of town. Daniel had seen the place before but had never gone near it. It was one of those buildings people rarely talked about. Some said it had been closed for years. Others said it once belonged to a wealthy businessman who disappeared mysteriously. Daniel suddenly remembered something. His mother had once mentioned a story about a man who vanished from the town many years ago. Arthur something, Daniel muttered. His footsteps slowed. Arthur Whitmore. That was the name written on the note. A strange chill ran through his body. Could this wallet really belong to that same man? Daniel shook his head. No, that's impossible, he said softly. But curiosity kept pulling him forward. After about 20 minutes of walking, Daniel finally reached the building. The storage facility stood quietly behind a tall rusted gate. The paint on the walls had faded, and weeds had grown through cracks in the pavement. Daniel stopped outside the gate and stared at the place. Wow! The building looked completely abandoned. A crooked sign hung near the entrance. Whitmore Storage. Daniel's eyes widened. Whitmore, he repeated quietly. That was the same name from the wallet. Now his curiosity exploded even more. Daniel pushed the rusted gate gently. Creak! The sound echoed loudly through the empty space. He froze for a moment and looked around. No one. Just silence. Daniel took a deep breath and stepped inside. Rows of metal storage units stretched down a long dusty corridor. Most of them were locked, their doors covered with dirt and spider webs. Daniel pulled out the folded note again. The directions mentioned a specific unit. Number 27. He began walking slowly, counting the numbers painted on each door. 21, 22, 23. His heartbeat was now pounding in his ears. Please let this be real, he whispered. 24, 25, 26. Daniel stopped. The next door had a faded number painted on it. 27. He stared at it for several seconds. This is it. The metal door looked just like the others, but something was different. It wasn't locked. Daniel blinked. That's weird. All the other units had heavy padlocks, but this one didn't. Daniel stepped closer. His hands were shaking now. What if someone is inside? He whispered. He listened carefully. Nothing. No voices. No movement. Just silence. Daniel slowly placed his hand on the metal handle. For a moment he hesitated. Maybe I shouldn't do this, he muttered. But then he remembered the life he and his mother were living. The leaking roof. The empty kitchen. The long exhausting days his mother worked just to survive. He clenched his jaw. Just look inside, that's all, he said firmly. Daniel pulled the handle. The metal door slid open with a loud grinding sound. Scrape! Dust floated into the air as the door lifted. Daniel coughed. Then he looked inside. At first, he thought the room was empty. It was small, dim, and covered with dust. A single narrow window allowed a little light to shine through. But then Daniel noticed something in the corner. A wooden chest. His eyes widened. What is that? The chest looked old but sturdy, with thick metal edges and a heavy lock attached to the front. Daniel slowly stepped inside the unit. Every footstep echoed against the concrete floor. He knelt beside the chest. This can't be real, he whispered. The chest looked like something straight out of a treasure story. Daniel reached for the lock. But before he touched it, he noticed something strange. There was a small envelope taped to the top of the chest. Daniel carefully peeled it off. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was another note. This one was written in the same shaky handwriting as the first. Daniel began reading. If you have come this far, then you must have found my wallet. Daniel gasped. This is crazy. The note continued. I don't know who you are, but if you are standing here now, it means the truth has finally reached the right hands. Daniel swallowed nervously. His eyes moved down the page. This chest contains everything I left behind when I realized someone was trying to destroy my life. Daniel's breath stopped. What? He kept reading. There are documents inside. Proof of what really happened. And something else. Something valuable enough to change a life. Daniel's mind began spinning. Valuable. His heart was racing now. The note ended with one final sentence. Use it wisely. And never forget that the truth always finds its way back. Daniel slowly lowered the paper. He looked at the locked chest again. What could be inside this thing? He whispered. His hands moved slowly toward the lock. But just as he was about to touch it, he heard something behind him. Footsteps. Daniel's entire body froze. Someone had just entered the building. Daniel's heart nearly jumped out of his chest. A step. Clear, slow, echoing footsteps. Someone was inside the building. Daniel froze beside the wooden chest. His breathing suddenly shallow. The dusty air felt heavy, and every tiny sound seemed louder than it should be. Step, step. The footsteps were coming closer. Daniel whispered nervously. Oh no, someone's here. His mind raced. Should he hide? Should he run? But before he could decide, a voice echoed from the corridor. Hello. Is someone in here? Daniel's eyes widened. The voice sounded old, calm, but cautious. Daniel slowly stood up and stepped toward the door of the storage unit. A man appeared at the entrance of the corridor, holding a small flashlight. He looked about 60 years old, wearing a worn security jacket and a cap. The man squinted. Hey, who are you? Daniel raised his hands quickly. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to trespass. The old man walked closer, shining the flashlight inside the unit. What are you doing here, kid? He asked. Daniel hesitated. Then he slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out the old leather wallet. I found this earlier today, in the old marketplace. The man stared at the wallet. His face changed instantly. Wait. He stepped closer and took the wallet carefully. No way, the man whispered. You know this wallet? Daniel asked. The man nodded slowly. I haven't seen this in years. Daniel felt chills run through him. Do you know who Arthur Whitmore is? The man looked up sharply. You found the note, didn't you? Daniel nodded. Yes. The old man sighed deeply and leaned against the doorway. Well, I guess the truth finally showed up. Daniel stared at him. What do you mean? The man introduced himself. My name is Mr. Carter. I used to work here years ago, when this place was still running. Daniel pointed at the chest. The note says something important is inside that. Mr. Carter looked at the wooden chest for a long moment. I always wondered if someone would come for it, he said quietly. Daniel frowned. You knew about it. Mr. Carter nodded. Arthur Whitmore owned this entire storage facility. He was one of the richest men in this town. Daniel's eyes widened. Really? Yes, Mr. Carter continued. But something terrible happened. Some business partners betrayed him. They tried to steal everything he owned. Daniel listened carefully. What happened to him? Mr. Carter shook his head slowly. He disappeared before they could destroy him completely. But before he vanished, he came here one last time. Daniel looked at the chest again. He left that. Yes. Mr. Carter walked closer to the wooden chest. He told me, one day the truth will come out. And when it does, someone honest will find what I left behind. Daniel swallowed. So he hid everything in there. Mr. Carter nodded. Looks like it. Daniel pointed at the lock. But it's locked. Mr. Carter smiled slightly. Then he reached into his pocket. I think I still have something for that. He pulled out a small old key. Daniel gasped. You kept the key all this time. Mr. Carter chuckled softly. I had a feeling it might be needed someday. Daniel's heart was pounding with excitement. Mr. Carter knelt beside the chest and slowly inserted the key. Click! The lock opened. Daniel held his breath. Open it, he said eagerly. Mr. Carter lifted the heavy lid. The chest creaked loudly, and inside were stacks of documents, folders, and several sealed envelopes. But that wasn't all. At the bottom of the chest was a small metal box. Daniel's eyes widened. What's in that? Mr. Carter opened one of the folders first. His eyes scanned the papers. Well, I'll be. What is it? Daniel asked. These are legal documents. Bank records, property ownership papers. Daniel looked confused. What does that mean? Mr. Carter looked directly at him. It means Arthur Whitmore left proof that everything stolen from him was illegal. Daniel's jaw dropped. So the truth was hidden here all along. Mr. Carter nodded. And it also means the money connected to those accounts was never claimed. Daniel blinked. How much money? Mr. Carter opened the metal box slowly. Inside were several sealed bank certificates and safety deposit documents. Mr. Carter's eyes widened. Oh my goodness! What? Daniel shouted. Mr. Carter looked at him in disbelief. This is worth millions. Daniel stumbled backward. Millions? Yes. Daniel couldn't believe it. But why leave it for someone else? Mr. Carter smiled. Because Arthur believed someone honest would eventually find the truth. Daniel looked down at the old wallet still in his hand. For a moment he said nothing. Then he whispered quietly. I just picked it up because I thought it was empty. Mr. Carter chuckled. Sometimes the smallest decisions lead to the biggest changes. Weeks later, after lawyers reviewed the documents and authorities confirmed the truth, the story spread across the town. The long-lost fortune connected to Arthur Whitmore had finally been discovered. And because Daniel had found the wallet and followed the clues honestly, part of the inheritance was legally awarded to him. The poor boy who once searched the streets for scrap metal suddenly had opportunities he never dreamed of. But the most surprising part, Daniel didn't forget where he came from. He helped his mother move into a better home. He returned to school. And he used part of the money to support struggling families in his neighborhood. All because of one dusty wallet. And the secret hidden inside it. Now here's the question for you. If you found that wallet, would you have followed the clues? Or would you have ignored it and walked away? Let me know in the comments. And if this story amazed you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who loves mysterious life stories.